Hey leaders, it's week 10, time for another business checkup. And this time we want to talk about level loading your production or your schedule. Now, many of the organizations I work with do not make one product. We make a variety of products. And oftentimes those products rotate through shared resources. So in a search to optimize resources, it's common practice that businesses will produce larger batches on larger capacity equipment to optimize the uptime where they can do changeovers and not affect the production output. So that impact of changeover time and variation presents a challenge to most organizations at producing at smaller, more agile type production flows. Leveling our load in production is what we're seeking to do to address this. Of how do we balance the workload, reduce the impact of products mix and product mix variations so that we can smooth out what our frontline operators see in terms of dips or spikes in demand. How this feels to the production floor is sometimes we can have a day and the dispatch is very difficult to meet. We have a really hard Tuesday or a really easy Friday, and based upon the mix and type of parts that are coming through, we want to take that out, level that out for production, which is a benefit to the customer in terms of shortened lead time, is a benefit to all of our support organizations in terms of leveling the support they need to provide to the floor as well. And it's surprising to me that more companies don't focus on this as one of the foundational elements, because it is quite literally foundational to lean. All we have to do is look to the Toyota production system, and right there in the foundation of the house, we have three things. We have standardized work to make sure that we have repeatable processes and predictable output, which creates the ecosystem for Kaizen, or continuous improvement. But we also have leveling. The Japanese word used here is hijunka. And hijunka, this becomes one of the elements that provides stability for the rest of the house to support on. And this is because a level mix in volume in our production plan benefits the operators, but also benefits all of the support organizations of planning and supply chain and material distribution and material handling. And then also other tools like Kanban become enabled, because when we have a more predictable, stable, level-loaded consumption of our demand, that makes it easier to implement some of these other tools that we associate with lean. Now, optimization of resources is not wrong when we're looking at individual work cells or machines, but if we zoom out to an enterprise look and we start thinking about customer fulfillment and inventory carrying, it does create longer lead times, higher inventories to produce with large equipment in large batch sizes. This focus of operations to maximize uptime of machine and reduce changeover often results in schedules that look something like this. If we have a hypothetical supplier that produces 5 varieties of product, highest demand being their type A product, medium demand being B and C, and then lower demand D and E, oftentimes to minimize disruptions and changeovers, we'll load the first part of the month with all A product. Run, high pace, high volume, give us some breathing room for a changeover, then change over to B, then to C, then to D, etc. If we zoom out to a period of that demand, let's say a month in this case, we can see there should be a repetitive interval at which the demand is predictable. In this particular case, if we look at the demand divided across those 4 weeks, we can look at the interval, and it shows us that there is a predictable amount of demand that can be built into a level loaded calendar, where we would still produce in that sequence A, B, C, D, E, but we would produce that on a 20-hour interval. So for the first 2.5 days of the week, we would produce A, B, C, D, E, repeat that for the second half of the week, A, B, C, D, E. What this does is this changes the problem to solve from maximizing output. Now we look at things like changeovers, every part, every interval, and SMED become the new problems to solve. But what we produce for production and for planning and for all of our support material handling and distribution is a more predictable schedule of what's going to be coming down. Now you might say, what about mixed models? Yeah, true, we produce 5 product variants, but they don't all take the same amount of time. We can factor that into the level loading as well. So now if I have product variants, but they have differing times in terms of cycle time for production, I can still level load that through my work center. And I would look at a similar interval of time here, and based upon the fact that C products might take 3 times as long as A and B, and D products might take twice as long, I can adjust the interval not based upon unit volume, but upon worked hours in a particular interval. And once this becomes embedded in your system to level load the production in a planned sequence of operation, it ends up opening up your capacity. So that now if I can, within an interval of time, produce the same product repetitively according to my standard work, it opens up the door for Kaizen and shorter lead time for fulfillment of customer. I hope that you take a look at your production calendar and challenge the areas where you are batch producing and using large capacity machines, and consider what it might look like if we level loaded the calendar to benefit the operator and the customer. We'll see you next week.